The Desert Tiger Podcast.
I have to jump on another Zoom at about 1:20. Does that give us enough time?
I'm sure whatever we can get rocked out in this amount of time will make it work.
You got it. Good.
We're professionals, right?
Yes, of course. Where are you based out of?
So right now I'm based out of Kamloops, British Columbia.
Wow, nice. What's the weather like there?
It is freaking gorgeous out today. It's very sunny. I can't wait to get outside after this at some point.
I'm sure. Lucky you.
How you're in Montreal?
Montreal. Yeah, it's actually nice, but we still have snow on the ground. So not quite as Kamloops, BC as you.
It's okay. I'm originally from Saskatchewan, so I understand that having snow on the ground until like well into the late spring, early summer.
Okay, cool. I've been to Saskatchewan once. I was on a movie set. I had to cover a film set, and that was the only time I ever went. Very flat.
Yes, it's definitely much different from where I am now.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So we're here to talk a little bit about the working actor today.
Yes.
You ready to jump on in?
Let's go.
Okay. Well, I mean, obviously this is season 2 and you're taking over from the wonderful host of season 1. So first question is, how did this opportunity come your way?
You know what? I had no idea what I was auditioning for when my agent contacted me. It was through the casting workbook. And so my agent's like, you have an audition through the casting workbook. They want to know if you're able to speak Spanish as well as English, and if you're able to conduct interviews bilingually in both languages. And I've taken Spanish courses before because I use them up in my university electives. So I thought, okay, time to brush up on my Spanish. And I had done the total screen test in Spanish, just talking about myself, et cetera. But I still had no idea what I was auditioning for. They just said that I would be talking to actors and people in the industry and basically just doing what I've been doing throughout the years. So I'm like, okay, let's go ahead. And then after a couple of different screen tests and audition, I found out that it was for the casting workbook and it was for their new season, and that I was going to be taken over. And I got very excited, and it's been a great ride so far.
Awesome. Well, always glad to hear that. Glad to hear that it's going well for you. So, of course, you mentioned that you have quite a bit of experience inside of this entertainment industry. So what exactly are you trying to bring to the season 2 here?
Okay, well, I have quite a bit of experience just interviewing directors and actors and a lot of connections in the movie and television industry. So I would like to bring my connections to Casting Workbook and try and get people who are going to share their insight about how the industry works. Not just casting directors, but perhaps hear stories from directors and actors in the field who are going to kind of share their journeys and give you tips on how to better yourself as an actor. I know the community is a really big, huge community of actors. But when you start to hear stories from people behind the scenes, you really actually start learning a lot more about the industry than you would from an actor. And I found that that was so true when I started doing interviews during junkets, where I felt like the directors and the casting directors were the ones who were giving me so much behind the scenes scoop on what was going on a movie set or on a TV series, that it just helped me get better interviews when it came time to me interviewing the cast.
Okay. And that's a really wonderful way to look at things, because the industry is so much more than just actors themselves.
Absolutely. You know, I think as an actor or as a talent or anyone working in this field, you kind of have to not discourage yourself or not look away from having a plan B, C, and D. Because maybe, you want to be an actor, but it's really great to learn about the industry as a whole and kind of see how you can be beneficial and an asset to other things that fall under the umbrella, because sometimes you'll find that you'll find a different path that interests you more, and maybe you have strengths in those areas.
Absolutely. And you see that too with even some actors who have been at this game for a very long time also have transitioned into other roles. Sometimes you can't stay in the same thing forever. Sometimes it gets harder to find roles as maybe you age or whatever the case may happen to be. So you see a lot of actors these days are starting to get into that directing, into that producing world.
Absolutely. I think in back of every actor's mind at one point in their life, they get attracted to the behind the scenes and the excitement of producing your own series or being a director, because there's a real adrenaline rush to putting together something. I remember when I started off in university, I started putting together stuff as a producer, and I would show my homework to my parents, and they never understood. They were like, well, when are you on screen? And I'm like, I'm not. I produced the actual episode, right? And my parents didn't understand this industry at all. But you'll find that as you get older and as with more experience, you'll find that the producer role and the director role and the casting director role is really a big chunk of what makes the industry so successful.
Absolutely. It's like we said, it's what drives it. Without those little, like even the people holding the sound boom and whatever, without those guys, the movie's going to sound like garbage. Who's going to watch it, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, I was in on a Q&A with the Trial of Chicago 7, the movie that is up for so many awards at the Oscars. And Aaron Sorkin was saying how his job is just 10% because 90% of that film was all the casting directors who cast an impeccable, phenomenal cast for it. And after that, he's like, well, my job was easy. I had to direct the film, which we all know. I mean, Aaron Sorkin is amazing. But he gave so much credit to the people behind the scenes who made that film successful.
Absolutely. And that's casting directors are definitely one of those underappreciated roles. So it's good to see them getting light. And it's actually the first guests that you had on season 2 happened to be casting directors. So also taking into that area of this world.
Yeah, I was a little intimidated to have them good faith casting, the two dynamic, the mom and daughter duo. I was kind of intimidated because I think everybody as an actor, when you go into an audition, you're always intimidated by the casting director, right? Because they're the ones who are going to say yes or no to your audition. And they're the ones who basically are in control of whether you get a callback or not. And I think I felt the exact same way as I was interviewing these really popular casting agents who were from Albuquerque, New Mexico, who were responsible for casting so many great series out there and in LA. And here I am, talking to them about acting. I wanted to impress them as well, but they gave back so much feedback, and they were great, and they were really honest. And they even said it as well. It's pretty intimidating to be a casting director because you have this perception that they're always tough on you. But casting directors really want to see you succeed, and they're trying every way possible to help you get the gig if you're the one that they choose. So,
well, and it's a lot of pressure on them too, because if they choose somebody who maybe doesn't end up working out or whatever the case happens to be, like they want to make sure that they're making the absolute right choice.
Absolutely. You got that correct. I think sometimes they know when they see someone walk in. Just from my experience of talking even to Brian Levy last week, he said, the minute somebody walks in that they're right for the role. And other times, when an actor is a lazy actor where they don't fully read the entire script and they just read the sides that they were given. He's like, you can tell as a casting director, we know whether you put in the work to actually audition for this role or whether you were just sent the script and you just read the lines that you were auditioning for.
Did you figure out who this character is and who you're portraying, what the energy is?
Exactly. Yeah. And then I realized too, I was learning so much from them because they're like, there's a reason why we give you a couple more scenes for your audition, because we want you to read before your scene and after your scene so you understand what your character is going through. So there's a couple of tips even I learned, and I'm the host of this show. And this is a front row seat for any actor around the world to get insightful knowledge from casting directors and people in the industry. And I'm hosting it and I'm moderating it, but I'm learning as I'm going as well.
Okay, so we dove into the first episode. So what other topics, what other guests have come your way, are coming our way?
Okay, so I'm from Montreal, Quebec, and there's a lot of great talent that comes out of this province. We have Maxime Roy, who was telling us how to be a successful actor because she's been working as a child actor and all the way up into now as an adult, and she wants to transition as well behind the scenes. Karine Vanasse, who is a phenomenal international award-winning actress. Her first break into the American market, she was called for an audition. Do you remember the show Pan Am on ABC?
Yes, yes.
All right. So she was working in Montreal. Her agent called her and said, they're auditioning for this series. You have to fly to New York City. Her first American audition, landed in New York, nailed it. So we're going to try and teach actors who are tuning in how to submit award-winning auditions and reels and get some insight on her because it seems like every movie she's done gets so much praise. She was also in Denis Villeneuve's Polytechnique, which won an award in Cannes. So she's got a really different story on how to go about it. And I think a lot of people will benefit from it.
Mm-hmm. And definitely someone who's taken on different aspects of the industry too, from that indie filmmaking and otherwise as well.
Also, I mean, the big question everybody always has when you talk to an international actress or actor is, how did you break into the American market? Because the Quebec star system is very unique. Canadian star system is another industry altogether. But then, breaking into the United States, I think that's kind of an actor's dream at one point is you want to make that transition and be successful at it. So she has the answers and we'll find out because I'm recording that right after you.
Oh, wow. Amazing. Okay. So that should be exciting. And it's one thing I want to touch on is it's amazing how supportive of the arts the whole Montreal scene is. Because I've been there to watch festivals and stuff, but I had no idea that Montreal, Quebec had its own version of The Voice. And it was wait, what? It was how does this one province support this whole thing on its own? Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Quebec has adopted a lot of American shows and made it their own. And like I said, there is a totally different star system where Quebec actors and Quebec celebrities are treated like Hollywood celebrities in this part of the country. So it's very unique, but it's something to be proud of because they've created this industry for them that really works. And we have a lot of talent that's come out of here. I mean, Celine Dion.
I mean, if that's the bar, whew.
Right? If that's the bar, right? I mean, we all can't be Celine, but I mean...
Even if you get halfway to Celine, I mean, I'd be happy. I'd be happy.
Okay, yeah. No, but there's some great talent that's come out of Montreal. Jay Baruchel, Celine Dion, Karine Vanasse, Denis Villeneuve. That's just to name a few, but... I think every province is proud of their talent.
Fantastic. So one thing that you mentioned is right after this call, you're jumping into another call to do another interview. If anyone who watches you on social media or otherwise constantly sees that you're on the go, you're always creating. And even with this last year where you probably had to homeschool your daughter and everything else, how do you balance all of these different things?
I think how everybody else balances it. I don't like to be bored and I don't like to sit at home and do nothing. And I think COVID has forced us all to be uncomfortable this year and just sit at home and try and figure out what to do with our time. And so I wanted to be ready so that whenever that reset button is hit and we can all go back out into the world, I want to look back on this time and say, well, I did something with it, whether it was good or bad, or whether it worked or it didn't. I just want to be able to know that I didn't waste a year just sitting down and not doing anything. And that's okay if you have. But, living in the moment is so important. And I think it's all we learned last year. But I kind of wanted to figure out, okay, well, how am I going to pivot during this pandemic and make it work for me? But, social media is all smoke and mirrors. We all know that, too.
It's true.
We all know, social media is just like an actor as well. It's like actors have to lie in order to be good at their roles because they're pretending to be somebody else. And I think social media is exactly like that too. It's all smoking.
Oh, exactly. It's like here's this piece of my life where I'm wearing a dress shirt for a small amount of the day, and then I'm gonna go put on cozy clothing right afterward.
Right, exactly. I know you're wearing pajama pants underneath that nice shirt of yours.
Actually, in jeans today, surprisingly.
Oh, good for you.
Usually it'd be sweatpants, though. You got me there. All right. So normally I try and add a little bit of a personal aspect to things. So we talked about how you've gone through this last year. So what I would like to know is you have spent a lot of time working with various different groups, holding conferences to inspire various women and otherwise. And we mentioned your daughter. So what has it been like to see your daughter grow up in this world? And then how has it seen to see your influence inside of her?
Sometimes I don't know if I am an influence on her because she's starting to roll her eyes, right? She's getting to that age where she's like, oh, Mom, please, you're embarrassing me. But I think if anything, it just reinforces that I want her to be anyone and go into any industry she chooses, and that no one can stop her. I mean, I've had a lot of setbacks in my life and in my career, and it was never an option for me to stop because I wanted to keep on going. And I really tell her every day that you really have to find something that you love and you're good at. And it doesn't matter what that is, but as long as you're good at it and it makes you happy and you love doing it, then keep on pursuing it. But I guess, she's witnessed all my ups and downs. And I asked her that actually the other night. I'm like, what do you think of me constantly like hustling and going to an audition here or trying to do that and interviewing there? And she's like, well, you're just working hard. And to me, that was a great answer because it showed her that you need to work hard in order to get what you want. So I hope I answered your question.
You did a fantastic job. And I know that you have to work hard. I would love to keep you for longer and to find out more, but I know that you have a very important call coming up
You're
soon.
So sweet. Colton, I've heard so much great things about you. So I hope that once COVID is over, I can meet you in person and you can probably come to Montreal and you can see a little bit of La Belle Province.
I would love to come back. It's been since 2014 since I've been there. So I'd love to be back.
You're due for a visit, but you got to come in the summer during festival season.
Yes, absolutely. I will make that happen. And maybe I'll see you on a red carpet somewhere as well.
I would love that. Thank you.
The Desert Tiger Podcast.